Gather around the old Victrola kiddies, because it's time for another episode of the Barry, Rich, and Lisa radio program. 1, 2, 3.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the Barry, Rich, and Lisa show. So glad you... Rich?
What is he doing?
What are you looking for?
Why is he pulling on your hair back
For fleas in my hair when you're staring at my head?
Well, I'm just trying to determine how big your corpus callosum is.
Wait a minute.
Rich, this is a family show. Be careful. That's
No, wow, this is cutting-edge news. It's on the front page of the LA Times.
My head?
Your hair?
No, not your corpus callosum particularly, but the corpus callosum of Albert Einstein.
Corpus.
And I was just thinking,
I thought he was dead. How could his corpus be callous?
well, it may have shrunk a little bit, but but that, yeah, I mean, he had a pretty big corpus callosum.
Oh, that's rude.
I'd have mine looked at, but I don't think they could find it. That's part of your brain. It's the neural, the electronic part of your brain. And they said his was gigantic. And I just wanted to see if I could see yours, because you're pretty
I'll
smart.
show you yours if you'll see me mine. What did I say?
It's covered with blondness. I think that means it's not firing.
But everybody that's listening has got to look up the front page of the Saturday, October 12th, LA Times. You'll see something that is quite extraordinary.
The Dodgers win?
No, they lost.
It involves Albert Einstein.
And look at that hair.
That's
right.
not his best side, actually.
That is Albert Einstein right after the beauty parlor. His hair is actually combed. I never thought I'd see that.
Let me take a closer look.
Yeah, take a closer look. Maybe that's
for him.
Yeah, he's got a face for radio, I have to say.
And maybe that's because maybe you can see the corpus callosum when his hair is combed.
Albert
maybe
Einstein.
That's why he kept it.
Yes, he was covering. He was trying to cover up that colossal corpus callosum.
All right.
Can't they operate for that?
Yes, but for our radio audience that isn't able to see this picture, why don't we talked about let's tell them about the corpus stalactite by
it carries the electric impulses between the sides of the brain. The synapses firing. I'm talking like I know what I'm talking about.
Well, you're convincing me.
It goes from the right to the left.
So what if yours goes from the left to the right? I think mine goes from the back to the middle. Or from the side to the,
back to front.
Yeah, yeah. Mine fires its own. It has its own.
I don't think you have one because it says the dense. Well, that works. But maybe you do. The dense network of neural fibers that makes brain regions with very different functions work together. Can you multitask?
I can breathe and talk at the same time.
Well, then maybe yours is working.
Not together, but randomly at intervals.
Well, when it works well, the human brain is a marvel of social, spatial, and verbal reasoning. When it malfunctions, I refer you back to Barry Schwam, as it appears to do.
I could take that personally, but I can't even figure out what he's talking about.
The effect on cognition can be disastrous. No wonder I didn't do well in school. I have a small corpus callosum. I'm so ashamed.
I didn't understand a thing you said.
It's malfunctioning.
When you're a woman, it all comes out with a placenta. Your whole corpus
callosum.
Yeah,
but you know what? You got to market these things. We could start a corpus callosum clinic where people could bring in their students, their children.
And how do we fix their corpus to collect?
I don't know. We'll just figure out.
Isn't that called electric shock therapy?
It doesn't even have to work. I mean, that's the American enterprise system.
Speaking of Congress, and none of them appear to have a corpus callosum and
corpus callostic expialidocious.
Chrysanthemum. They have no corpus chrysanthemums.
There we go.
Disney will sue
What
us
about
now.
Congress?
Well, the 800,000 non-essential workers who were furloughed, and I know some are being brought back, but But, I mean, we had 800,000 non-essential personnel.
So what do they do?
If they're non-essential, why not? Well, never mind.
Why don't we just let them go?
I know. Well, it is kind of weird how their synapses are not firing right. Okay, we have some essential and non-essential. All right, so we know Yosemite is closed, but they kept some things for themselves. So Rich, why don't I read the essential and then you read the non-essential?
Okay.
Apparently, essential was the gym for members of the House of Representatives. They are keeping it open. Oh, yeah.
Gee.
Because the swimming pool, the basketball courts, the sauna, and especially the steam room, where they can, I guess, vent. I don't know.
That was very good, Lisa.
Yes.
Did you even know you did that?
Well, maybe.
But I heard they're suffering a little bit in that gym.
Well, they have to bring their own towels. Yeah. But what's really interesting is that the house gym for the staff members is closed. Now, it's not so much that that's closed and that the other one is open in my mind. It's that you mean the representatives can't work out next to their staff members? They have to have their own elite gym to begin with?
Well, that's what an aristocracy is all about.
Apparently.
Yeah, we have an aristocracy. This is not a democracy. This is an aristocracy. Eras to human.
Corpus callosums abounding everywhere.
So what's non-essential?
Well, only clinical trials at the National Institute of Health.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, they, about 200 people go every week looking to see new treatment. In clinical trials, I'm going to the Corpus never mind. But, agency is not accepting new patients.
Oh, no.
So people critically ill. Okay, yeah there you go.
Well, they can go to the gym. Anyway.
What about not only if they're a member of Congress?
Oh.
Yeah, right.
Aren't we all members of Congress in some,
I'm not claiming it.
No.
I never saw them
If I can
before
get
my
onto
life.
their health plan, I'm claiming it.
Well, they say they're on Obamacare, but I have the feeling they're in the gold category, whatever the heck
Platinum.
it is. And we're paying for it.
Yes.
I'm sure.
Well, what's essential? What else?
Okay, every single last member of Representative Steve King's, who's a Republican from Iowa, his staff. Because he says his staff is picking up the slack for all the members who furloughed their staff.
like 4 people are picking up for 800,000.
No, for all the they furloughed a bunch of the congressional employees from different. So this guy managed to keep all of his staff saying, "Well, we'll pick up the slack for everybody else."
I just wonder if he actually if anybody furloughed any really cute interns. Maybe they got to stay on.
Yeah, cute goes a far, far distance here in this galaxy.
Physics apparently is non-essential.
Well,
because they
what goes up must come down.
Nobel-winning physicist who has been furloughed. Sorry.
So
wow.
What did he do?
Exercise your corpus callosum. He won it for, you'll appreciate this, as groundbreaking experimental methods that enable measuring and manipulation of individual quantum systems.
Yeah.
Does that explain it?
Of course,
and that's not essential?
Listen, my corpus stalactites are understanding that totally.
Well, then, but that's non-essential.
Then you'll understand why they had to keep the that little subway car. If you between the House and the Senate office buildings, I've actually been down there. They have this little subway system. It's a tiny bit of a walk. It's not a big walk, but they have a subway system for those, congressmen and women who just can't make that walk. So,
and the walk is even underground.
No, that's what I'm saying. The whole thing, everything's underground. It's about a 30-second little cab ride, and they kept that going. That was essential.
Yeah, well, they wouldn't want to have to walk, would they? You can't walk without. If your corpus delicti is too small, it makes your feet run instead of smell.
Speaking of smell, it's non-essential?
What?
They're cleaning up toxic waste sites. That's right.
Wow.
94% of the EPA employees, Environmental Protection Agency, have been furloughed. These include people who oversee projects like Superfund cleanup sites. The EPA has suspended cleanup at 505 toxic waste sites in 47 states. I wonder if there are any in Sierra Madre or Pasadena. But you know what? It's essential.
What is essential? It's every single member of Congress because they're still getting paid.
Except Stephen King. No, he should be furloughed.
Stephen King?
He's the guy with he got all the employees to.
Oh, this is a different Stephen King.
Same Stephen King. The representative.
Yeah.
Well, no, I meant the writer.
author.
Funny, sorry. No, not that King, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's non-essential, Rich?
Well, the NASA employee who oversees the Mars rover mission. I mean, it's driving around. Let's not make cuts where we're making cuts. Just let it tool around for a while on its own. And of course, it doesn't.
Can it
there are probably 800,000 Jet Propulsion Lab employees who aren't furloughed. They'll keep watching it.
Can that rover pick up hitchhikers? See, I knew I'd stump him. Your corpus delectite is falling down.
You know what? Every person involved in the Mars rover project hopes to be faced with that question.
Yes.
Yeah, wouldn't that be something? Well, Congress's ratings are just, go ahead and flush because that's where it's going. But there are 5% of Americans who approve of Congress. And this is from The Onion.
Oh, yes.
This is verbatim from The Onion. So I just want to read this because I was shocked. I was, okay. The nation's psychiatrists announced that they are deeply concerned for the estimated 5% of Americans who are found in nationwide polls this week to approve of the U.S. Congress. Quote, with numerous members of Congress refusing to negotiate an end to the shutdown in the face of widespread federal furloughs and a looming deadline to avoid defaulting on government debt, we are extremely concerned for the mental health of those Americans who responded, yes, we think Congress is doing a good job. Psychiatrist Dr. Donald Levin said. Okay, so he said that those people who approve of Congress are very likely troubled citizens who may be, in fact, experiencing psychotic episodes or delusional thought. And he said, we need to find these people, get them the help they need before their illness gets worse. And the psychiatrist added that because a number of mental health services are currently furloughed, many respondents would just have to sit tight and hang in there until the shutdown's over.
Well, they went on to say they are perhaps psych ward patients or unstable recluses living in remote huts on the outskirts of society. But
like Unabombers?
Yeah, I might point out that this is reported by The Onion.
Yes.
Who makes up news?
So I need to peel back the layers.
Peel back the layers to find the reality. The only piece of reality in this is the 5% are approving of Congress. Oh. And that's still 15.5 million Americans.
Well, I like my world better.
Maybe that's all this. Are there 15.5 million staffers?
It could be
for Congress.
It could be at least.
Yeah.
Because for each congressman has 44 staffers or 50.
Well, I know 800,000 non-essential personnel who don't like Congress right now.
Yes.
Yeah, really.
Are we essential? Are we essential?
Essentially.
It depends on who you ask.
Yeah. Okay, well, if you think our government's bad.
Oh, there's something
in
worse?
Azerbaijan, however you say that, they announced their election results before they voted.
Well, that's kind of cutting into the chase.
Well, they didn't mean to, but a day before voting began, the smartphone app of the Central Election Commission released the results showing
the day before the election
that the President Aliyev, whose family has been at the head of the country for 40 years, won by 73% of the vote.
Exactly 73. They knew down to the percentile.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty good.
Well, actually, after the close, they bumped it to 85%.
So he did better than they even.
So what was their reasoning? They said that it was
a glitch. They were testing it in one polling place, and
they're testing it.
Just
what if he won?
Yes. What if it just slipped out there?
So the opposition is a little upset, calling for a new election, and I suppose Jimmy Carter to go in and monitor the polling booths.
Yeah, they just for some reason thought that there might have been some ballot box stuffing, like in 37 polling stations.
That would be a conclusion to draw.
Yeah.
If you get your results before.
Well, nice work if you can get it.
But
I just want to know if they know how to pronounce the name. Azerbaijan.
Yeah, that's it, I'm sure.
Who's
I
that?
think it was once part of the Soviet Union.
Oh,
which
that's a country?
would make
Yeah,
sense.
oh yeah, one of those that.
One of those
little country things.
Yeah.
splintered countries.
Okay. Oh, you
What?
do this one, Rich, because you're the military guy in the group.
I'm the military guy. Well, Scott Carpenter, one of the original 7 Mercury astronauts, has died, leaving only Scott Glenn. John Glenn, not Scott Glenn. Scott Glenn, the actor. He may have played John Glenn, but he probably didn't.
He played one of the astronauts.
He did,
Which
he
one did
did.
he?
And then there was Glenn as
He
John.
played Jaime. Oh, I'm sorry. This is an obit. Scott Carpenter, he was 88, and he died. I heard him speak once. Now, this guy, on the scale of good-looking guys, was a 10. I mean, he was
He's
a
pretty
very
good-looking.
charming-looking. I heard him speak once, and I understand why he never ran for Senate, or because he would have, he's one of these guys who should have been, if he'd had a little bit of charisma, he would have gone a long, long way. He was a nice guy, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But he was very droll, very, I saw him speak in front of
surprised.
3,000 people.
With everything that he did in his life,
Oh.
both way up high and way down below in the ocean, this man was incredible.
Well, he was the second man to orbit the Earth. But he had kind of a colorful career with NASA.
Yeah, they didn't like him that well.
Oh my goodness! Now, you've all seen movies about, like Apollo 13, and they have to time these. When they fire the little engines, if they've got to do it right on the dot, or they'll miss the trajectory and bounce into space.
And especially then when they were really flying.
Yeah, there's no
it wasn't
wiggle
just-
room.
No computerized stuff.
When it says 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, no! Well, Scott Carpenter, they were adjusting his flight, and so the NASA goes 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, now! And he goes, "Did you say now?" Was that now? He was 3 seconds late.
He was busy.
What was he doing?
Who knows?
Was he going to the bathroom?
He was 3 seconds late. So you know what that caused?
What?
When his spacecraft landed, it landed 250 miles away from anybody.
They had a little. I remember them trying to find him, and he was in the little life raft,
Yeah.
floating, just
Yeah.
waiting to be found. Hi guys, I'm here.
Wow,
And
3
his
seconds.
fuel ran low because he inadvertently left 2 systems on at the same time. Oops!
It could happen to anyone.
I didn't see oops in Apollo 13.
No, they didn't do it.
So he managed to make one NASA official, the flight director, very upset. The guy named Chris Kraft, who was kind of famous. He thought his name was a made-up name for, but Chris Kraft. He said he swore an oath Scott Carpenter would never again fly in space.
And he didn't.
But the interesting thing about it is, 2 days after he landed, he was, where was it? 2 days after he landed, the University of Colorado gave him a degree in aeronautical engineering.
Based on
Here's why. Because he had never finished one class in 1949 to get his degree.
He had finished all but one class.
but
It isn't that he didn't finish one
because
class.
that's the way you did state it incorrectly.
The one class he didn't complete was a course in heat transfer. And
like making T-shirts.
Like
aeronautical engineering.
like friction.
But they cited his degree, his unique experience with heat transfer during his reentry.
Yes,
so they
he
figured,
learned it.
he passed the final. He got here. He got back
he made
alive.
Now, Barry, you have actually orbited the Earth without a spacecraft.
That's true. Me and Timothy Leary. Yes, we shared a cabin. Yes, so I kicked him out, and he landed on his head, and that's why we never went back to space. But I certainly have had fond memories of those days when I was orbiting the Earth without a space.
Floating in the ocean, waiting for someone to find you.
Yeah, and they never did.
He's still floating in the ocean.
I'm a reasonable facsimile of myself.
Well, John Glenn is alive, and he's the only one left. He's 92.
Yeah.
But listen, all that aside, Scott Carpenter, we applaud you for
No, did he die?
That's who we're talking about.
Yeah.
Scott. Yeah.
No, I just wanted to make sure that
Earth to bury, earth to bury, earth to bury.
Well,
Go ahead.
no, I remember you saying somebody died, and then you started talking about Chris Kraft's sailing ships,
Yeah.
and then you said, but I have these heavy duty engineering jobs, and I can't listen to every little thing you guys say.
You're busy.
true.
I mean, I'm very busy. It's fortunate.
listen to-
You're lucky that I can chime in when I can. It's just I have a schedule to meet. Never mind. Just
Well,
5, 4, 3, 2. Now!
no.
Just as to close that out, Scott Carpenter did some amazing stuff in the ocean's depths as well. I mean, he literally spent a month living and working on the ocean floor, and I don't think I could have done that. I think I could have orbited the Earth before I could.
was he in
He'd have done
some
better
sort
if
of
they gave him
bubble, or
oxygen.
was he in some sort of bubble, or was he in a little craft?
No,
I
he
mean,
was just that good.
Yeah.
He was that good.
Wow.
Well, we want to take a little break and come back telling you about an Air Force general who's been fired.
Is he non-essential personnel?
Now he is.
Okay, we'll be right back. Hey, Rich! You free Monday night?
Go ahead, Rich.
Go.
Are you kidding, Barry? Monday night's barbecue rib night right here in Sierra Madre. I'm busy.
But wait a minute. Barbecue ribs? In Sierra Madre?
Where? The Pepper Tree Grill, pal, right there at 322 West Sierra Madre Boulevard, just east of Lima. It's the Monday night football buffet, and there's more of the ribs. Tell them, Lisa.
Yes, yes. Chili verde, salad, pasta, beans, and more. They mix it up every week. Oh, and you can order off the regular menu, too.
But there's always barbecue ribs on Monday night, and football, and maybe hockey, and baseball.
Whoa. What about boxing? I love it when guys without helmets hit each other.
Yeah, ding, 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 ding. Hey, Lisa. The Pepper Tree Grill's got about 10 big screens. We'll find something for you.
Hey, it gets better. Enjoy the Monday night buffet and mention you heard about it on Village Vine, and Pepper Tree will give you a free dessert.
Free dessert.
Or an empanada. Limit one per table.
The buffet starts at 5:30 on Monday nights during football season. Monday nights, Pepper Tree Grill. That's Pepper Tree Grill. 322 West Sierra Madre Boulevard in Sierra Madre. 626-355-8444. And Lisa. And Lisa.
What? Well, no. You want me to bring us back out of the break?
Why not?
Well, no, because
We trust you.
I have to turn these knobs, and 5, 4 and 3/4.
No.
No. Okay, we're back.
Yeah.
We're back.
Amazing.
Barry.
Very Rich and Lisa show.
And I'm looking at Barry and reminded of Air Force generals who've been fired.
Do I have that look?
You do. You
I
look
have
like
the Air
a-
Force general fired
And the
look.
astronaut look and the space
The
look.
space-
the unshaven
I think it's
walking-
mostly space cadet.
And the corpus I'll never get that second word. Corpus
Corpus callosum.
callosum.
Is that where they got
Corpus Christi?
No, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Corpus, yes.
No.
She didn't like that,
She didn't like it at all. She wants to move on.
That movie's coming out in Christmas,
Mary Poppins.
Well, the making of Mary Poppins. It's called Saving Mr. Banks, starring Tom Hanks. It's going to be a big blockbuster.
A blockbuster?
Yes.
Okay. All right. What were we talking about?
We're talking about an Air Force general who got fired, and a admiral got fired, and they did the same jobs. They're both in charge of nuclear missiles.
So don't take the job about nuclear missiles. You
Yes.
don't want to be
Because those are
have any
becoming
part of that.
obsolete.
They got fired for misconduct. I don't know who misconduct is.
Oh, police.
I want to meet her. No, actually, it was with the general. It was not sexual misconduct. They won't really say what it was, and there was some alcohol involved, but it was not an alcoholic. Now, here's the thing about this guy: is he was stationed in Wyoming. Now, I don't know what kind of misconduct you can get in Wyoming, but he got let go. He was also, here's a guy, and you appreciate guys like this, he entered the military in 1978 as a private. and somebody who works their way up through officer candidate school and gets to become a general, that's quite an extraordinary thing. Now, the other guy, I understand. The other guy, the Admiral, was let go for gambling. But then again, he was a vice admiral, and I don't know what that means.
They shouldn't have made him a vice admiral.
Then you go back to misconduct again.
That's misconduct. Well, he was apparently, I heard today from a retired police officer of Sierra Madre, that he was using counterfeit chips.
What?
You mean they weren't really Granny Goose?
No, it was I wonder if people know who Granny Goose is.
Yeah.
They don't make those
That's
anymore?
your
I
granny.
don't think they make Granny Goose. They were
Potato chips.
Yeah, and it was a goose.
Yes.
Yeah, Granny Goose.
An old goose.
Well, it was a granny, yeah.
Speaking of old gooses. No, so he was like, oh, now the funny thing is, now follow me if you can, the guy who fired the Air Force general has just been nominated for the vice admiral's job that got fired.
Okay, now that's a little
It
fishy.
sounds like it's fixed there.
General Kowalski.
Kowalski.
A good poll.
That's his name, James Kowalski. He's the
How
one
tall
that's
is
been
he?
nominated.
How tall is he?
Why?
Would he be more than 10 feet tall? Because I wouldn't want to touch him if he 10 foot wouldn't come near a 10-foot pole. That I would.
Oh.
Just had to. I just had to.
I remember a Kowalski in Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea.
I've been watching that lately.
We called it Voyage to see what's on the bottom.
The special effects in that are so cheesy. I mean, they were terrible.
yes.
And they had the name of the ship was the Seaview.
Yeah, but do you remember the stars?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Is that James Mason?
Lee Crane.
No.
No.
Richard Basehart.
That's it. And who is his second in command?
Lee Crane.
No.
Who?
I don't remember either.
Well, you don't remember it was Lee Crane.
No, it was David Beppinger. David
Sorry.
David Hasselhoff.
That's it. No, it's not.
Sorry, I know it was Lee Crane, and you'll be proven wrong. But the thing about the thing about the Seaview, which was the name of the ship, is every time the ship would shake a little bit, all the panels would flare up. You know, all the instrumentation that 16 Navy guys were sitting at, turning knobs and doing what Barry does. All of a sudden, they'd flame out. So my friend and I, who watched this show, thought they must have warehouses on the ship full of what we called Seaview circuits. You know, they just come out and completely replace this panel.
Yeah, because they'd always be frying. Yeah.
That's it. Everything would fry. Ooh, we slowed down.
No, it was Hessel. It wasn't David. It wasn't Crane. I'll look it up. You guys just talk
you're
amongst
right.
yourself.
You're right. It wasn't. It was. It was.
See?
That was the
Oh,
character's
Barry.
name.
One for
Thank you.
Barry.
Thank
All
you.
right.
It was
Ooh.
David Hedison.
That's it. See, I had the David right.
His character's name was Lee Crane.
Well, that may be
So,
here nor
okay.
there.
Apparently, I never watched the series.
Yes. Well, no, you were not the only one.
Okay. Well, I am not in the market for a new phone because I'm still figuring out the iPhone I have. But I guess they've got fire sales going on. What are these things not selling? Why is everything
the
on
cheap
sale?
models, the 5Cs, the ones
Okay.
that are in plastic, which are identical to the 5s. They don't have all the upgrades that the 5S has, but they're on the market now. Mm-hmm. But this is a public service thing we're giving to you because the 5Cs are in sale. First of all, Best Buy, if you in California, I think they're nationwide, came out and said we'll give you a $50 gift certificate so you can buy the 5C for $50 with a 2-year contract.
Okay.
You have to be
So
eligible.
they still get you.
Yes.
Okay.
And then Walmart came out and said, hey, we'll do it for $45. And so Best Buy says, oh, yeah?
How come everybody you know talks like Roger Dangerfield?
I don't know. It's radio.
Oh.
So Best Buy came back and said,
Now it's Mickey
if you
Mouse
bring
and
a
Goofy.
smartphone, any kind of smartphone, you don't have one, Barry. We'll give it to you for free. Just give us the phone back. But
What? Did you follow that?
give us your old phone back, and we'll give you the new one.
Didn't you
for
just
free.
buy the old phone from them, though?
No, it's the one you've had.
See, it's
Well,
not-
if you had it, you had
Or
to buy
stole.
it.
the phone's not so smart.
No. If
Well,
it was smart, it wouldn't be doing
It's
that.
confusing because, there is no such thing as a free lunch. Okay. We all got that.
Well,
right?
it is at elementary school.
No, there isn't.
So, you have to be upgrade eligible, and you have to sign the 2-year contract. Then there's a carrier activation fee of $35 or so. And if you live in California, you do have to pay the sales tax, of course, but it's based on the real price of the phone, not on the discounted price. So basically,
May West.
you're still going to have to pay quite a bit of
The
money.
old bait switch.
Like maybe $75 to $80, even with a trade-in program.
How's that for free?
They should have had May West as a
Yeah,
spokesman.
Rodney Dangerfield and May West.
By the way, if you buy a new Apple phone, you can go to the Apple store, and they will give you lessons for free, one-on-one. Lydia was telling me this. They will give you one-on-one lessons for your Apple phone.
What, dance lessons?
No, how to use it.
How to use it.
Yeah.
It's like the Genius Bar where you can take your computer in, and Apple, they'll
There's a
work
Genius
with you.
Bar?
Isn't that what they call it?
What do you get to drink there?
I have no idea.
I had to go there. See, if I went there, I could show you guys up. I could become a genius, and you guys wouldn't have anything to
Let me
say.
check your corpus callosum. Is that?
Yeah. Well,
Is it throbbing?
It's between my ears. Yeah, most of it.
Okay.
So no.
Oh, there's a dead guy.
And
Another one.
He is. He's dead, but he's not. But the judge said, "You're dead."
He told him he was dead.
He said, "You're dead."
Wow. That's
Yeah.
kind of the final.
That
isn't
would
it?
have messed up Christianity if they'd said that to Jesus. No, you're dead. Stay
I'm
dead.
not.
Stay down. Stay-
Na, 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 na,
You can't
na.
keep a good man down. Well, he disappeared in 1986, and he was gone for almost 20 years.
Who? Jesus?
No, no, not
Donald
Jesus.
Miller.
Oh.
Donald
Not
Miller
Jesus.
and his family, his wife and their kids, they finally got him declared legally dead so they could start collecting Social Security on him.
He walked out on them, by the way.
Yeah.
This is not necessarily a wonderful human
Yeah,
being.
he disappeared. He just left.
Yeah.
So they had him declared dead after 8 years, 7
Right.
whatever. it
7
was.
years. Yeah.
And they started collecting Social Security and that sort of thing. And then all of a sudden, I'm back! Hi! Sorry, I got stuck on the freeway.
Sometimes you just lose track of time.
Yeah. He was.
And the judge said, you got to stay dead. Because if you don't stay dead, you got to pay all this money back that we've been paying your family for all these years.
But how can you stay dead when you're alive? How can you do that?
I wonder if he can get a driver's license. I mean, seriously, if you're legally dead, well, you wouldn't have to pay taxes.
Yeah, but you couldn't. My mind is trying to wrap around this thing. I always thought if you were an artist, and this ties in, trust me,
I'm waiting.
you could make all these paintings. Many artists get famous once they're dead.
Right.
So you have a stockpile of your paintings. You hide out for 7 years. You become dead. You become famous, and then you can sell your paintings for a fortune because you're dead.
Yeah, because they're not worth anything till you're dead.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, let's try that.
Van Gogh only sold one painting in his lifetime, and it was discounted to a friend.
Right.
I thought it went to his brother. No, it was a friend.
Yeah, I'm sure he was.
It was somebody he
with
knew
his
anyway.
brother.
Yeah, but anyway, but this guy's got a real dilemma. And how can a judge? The judge tell him he's dead, and he's standing there breathing and everything.
Well, he just can't legally bring him back because it would be such a mess.
He could change his name and become somebody else, couldn't he?
Probably did for all those years. Yeah, I don't.
Wow, that's a strange
That's
one.
a tough thing.
That's
Well, the judge said for the time being until they can all sort it out. And the judge admits it doesn't make much sense, but it's actually by the book.
And he says, yeah, they've never seen anything, that particular situation
that's
happen
a strange
before.
One.
I don't know. Well, I got to tell you, Pope Francis is at it again.
What is that guy
He is
doing?
Unpredictable. I love this guy. He's calling a synod, and that's where they bring some of the bishops together in next year, a year from now, actually. And they're going to talk about the pastoral challenges of the family in the context of evangelization. Basically, they're going to re-examine divorce and marriage and annulment, and it's going to be very interesting. He's only bringing selected bishops, I think the ones he trusts, and they're going to sit around and figure out, I don't know whether they're going to make it easier for divorced people to
get back together.
to remarry.
I hope they don't interview those two rabbis.
Oh, the ones. Did you hear about those, Barry?
No.
Oh, these guys who are kidnapping and beating up guys who won't let their wives divorce them.
Rabbis were doing this?
Oh,
Yes.
apparently in Orthodox Judaism, you can give a divorce to a woman, but you have to give this other document. You have to sign a get, something called a get.
Yeah.
And that permits the women to remarry. And guys were divorcing their wives, but they weren't giving them this document that freed them up to be married. So these were women found these two rabbis who for $10,000 would go out, put plastic bags around the heads of the men to torture. They'd beat up and torture these men to get them to sign these documents to give to the women.
God, this is so unlike the rabbis I've known. I mean, rabbis are these nice little bearded little guys, and they talk like this, and you give them gefilte fish, and they'll bless you and everything. Wow.
Well,
Maybe
this
they
guy
were-
looked like that.
Yeah, but he was. I mean, the worst thing that can happen to you, you get stuck in a Jewish neighborhood at night, you get audited to death, and that's usually how it's been. But
I
this is-
understand that the rabbi sounded like the hey.
No, Rodney Dangerfield again. Well, that's the problem.
Rodney Dangerfield Steen.
Yeah.
Well, those are some desperate women if they're trying to get out of the marriage that much.
Yes. So, but the Pope is. What is his nationality?
He's Spanish, isn't he? Isn't he Spanish?
Well, he's
He's Italian, but
he
raised
is
in
Italian. Yeah, he's
no, Italian. Uh-oh.
Yeah,
but he's been in Argentina.
We gotta make him an offer. The old school. The old school.
Put a big gefilte fish head on somebody's bed.
So there.
No.
So there, we're
Wow,
moving
that's-
on to China.
China?
Made in China. Well,
This
now
one gets a big duh.
China has passed the United States as the world's biggest importer of oil
Wow.
because people are buying a lot of cars.
And there's a
Wait
lot
minute,
of people
Wait a
over
minute.
there.
Wait a minute. Duh.
Yeah, I was. Well, you were waiting for me to do it, weren't you? But no.
How many people are there in China? A few billion?
Well, but there have always been a lot of people, but now they have some money to buy cars.
Yeah, and cell phones.
And are they driving around those little cars, those little like mini things, or are they driving the big full size cars? I can't see people in China driving SUVs. It just doesn't.
No, I would imagine it's
little compact things, and
small
stuff.
things because there's not a lot of room. Well, there is a lot of room, but there's a lot of people taking up a lot of room.
Yeah, that's a problem with that over there. Yeah,
And yet, if you look at, go ahead.
and everybody over there is made in China. But go ahead.
The smog problem in China, as we talked about a few weeks ago, is really bad. So it's only going to get worse. But, in a way, this is kind of a good thing, all this. We won't have... China's making so much money off of the United States that they'll never invade us because it'd be like,
cutting off your mouth and part of your face.
Your face, yeah, despite your face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I talk about it, but I can't. I cut my mouth off.
That was, yes.
Yeah. Now we here in the United States still consume more oil per person. But because there are so many people, they are now needing to.
Oh, now they
yeah. And we are also, our demand is coming down for imports because we're doing the hydraulic fracturing and other technologies and other sources of energy. So we're coming down, and their economy is growing at about 8% a year, and so they're on the upswing.
Yeah, when we went to Yellowstone, driving through Montana and Wyoming and these places, a lot of their fuels, it says, a lot of alcohol. What do you call that stuff? Ethanol or? I mean, a lot of the fuels were
the natural gas and they were using all kinds of things. And those huge windmills. Whenever I drive up to the Bay Area, I pass by outside of Livermore. These huge windmills that I don't think are ever going to really be a major source of.
That's
of
on
energy.
the 10. That's on the way out toward the the east, right? Those
Well, the ones I'm talking about are on the 5. Or actually, at that point, it's the 680 or the 580 or the
Right.
111 or the...
How does somebody ever name a town Livermore?
Well, I was thinking about that. Well, it's no different than Liverpool, I guess. Livermore.
Pool of livers. I'll have
pool-
more liver, please. I've never heard that ever said.
More liver, yeah.
But
My father liked liver.
Oh.
Chopped liver.
Should we take a break?
Oh, I don't know. We could.
Okay.
Let's
There's
take a
nobody
break.
here to stop us.
That sounds like fun.
I
And we'll
can do
talk
this.
about zombies.
Oh, boy. I love zombies. Yummy, yummy, yummy.
And Lisa. And Lisa. You are listening to the Barry, Rich, and Lisa Show. We welcome you back, and we are to our segment that we like to call All Bets Are Off, where we could talk about anything from starfish to zombies, and
Yeah.
some of my best friends are zombies.
This section is we admit we're talking nonsense. You know, everybody else tells us the rest of our show is pretty close to that, but this one it is. But if you've ever wondered who would win in a matchup between the zombies and the NFL,
Wow.
it would be the zombies.
Bunch of dead people versus a bunch of overgrown people that eat a lot of meat.
Yeah, who smash helmets. Well, maybe in San Diego anyway. The San Diego Chargers have been beat up by these zombies. And you might say, what does that mean? Well, that means that the Chargers wanted a brand new football stadium because the other one is getting too old. You know, I think it's 20 years old. So it's just outdated. You know, it's outdated. But the San Diego Convention Center wants to add on to their facility because every year they have this unbelievable event called Comic-Con, which we have talked about on this show, which is populated by people who act even weirder than the guys that get hit in the head a lot. And they dress up like zombies and witches and radio show hosts.
Superheroes.
That's right. Well, the zombies have won out.
Wow.
So, and I understand, but as a way to placate the NFL, they're going to put out a new movie called Shaun of the NFL, sequel to Shaun of the Dead.
Wouldn't it be a great movie, though, to see the zombies versus a football team or something? Wouldn't that be an interesting movie?
You could knock the zombies down over and over again.
And
they'd
they just
still
keep popping
They just
up.
keep coming up, keep coming back.
My favorite part of this story, though, is that one of the commissioners, Robert Garcia, admits he's attended 17 Comic-Con gatherings.
Wow.
Do you think that maybe that influenced
I
his?
wonder how he voted.
I think it's kind of amazing that that would beat out football.
I wonder if he shows up and, 30 years ago, who did say a bunch of these pimply geek kids are going to beat out football?
Well, the meek shall
Fans.
inherit the earth.
And the nerds shall get revenge.
Oh, yes. So, rock on, Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Do you like to chat when you have dinner?
Well, that's funny that you say that because Lydia and I talked about that last night. I do like to talk.
Obviously, you
I
like
find that conversation is very valuable.
Did you
while
talk
you're
over dinner?
I think there's a joke coming, but see, Lydia likes to concentrate on the food, so I'm sitting there and watching her chewing and savoring the flavors, and I want to talk. I want to have a conversation. So yes, I'd say chatting is very important while you're eating.
Okay, well, she gets to go eat at Eat Restaurant, and you don't.
What?
Yeah, in Brooklyn, they have a special, I think it's monthly, a 4-course, $40 prefix meal, 90 minutes, and you cannot talk while you're eating. You cannot. It is in silence. You can pantomime. One man ran outside because he was going to sneeze, and he didn't want to break the silence.
Although they wouldn't have thrown him out for that.
Probably not.
I wouldn't understand that.
What if you fart?
See what I have to do.
It has to be a quiet one.
Silent.
Yeah, there are quiet ones. Do you ever measure the velocity of your? No. Okay, so anyway, so why would you want to do that?
So you can focus. As one young woman described the experience, at first it felt like being 50 and married.
Yeah.
But then it became good.
Well, see, how long have you been married, Barry?
Actually, we celebrated our 4th anniversary last night.
Last night?
Yeah, we went to out to dinner last night, and we went 4th year.
Where'd you go?
It's a mix. It's where they do flamingo dancing. It's down in Old Town Pasadena.
Flamingo dancing.
Yeah. Oh, she was hot. I'm sorry.
We're seeing pink birds. Sorry.
No.
Flamingo dancing.
What is that place called? I could go ask Lydia.
Is that like the flamingo guitar?
Yeah. No, it is. No, there was a flamingo guy playing guitar, and a woman
He doesn't know why we're laughing.
flamingo dancing. And she would
That's
stand
like in Fantasia. Didn't they have flamingo dancing in Fantasia?
Anyway, yeah, it was really nice, but I can't remember the name. I don't know. They have zapatas there. Or zapatas? Zapatas? No, those are shoes, aren't they?
Well, my point about you being married 4 years, if you'd been married 30 years, you'd understand a quiet dinner, silent dinner.
Well, this restaurant, one of the reviews said, this made me laugh. It says a common theme emerges. Beans, greens, grains, and roots adorned with an egg here, a scoop of yogurt there, the politically correct output of contented free-range birds and grass-fed cows. You could argue that it's barely cooking, but then they might take that as a compliment.
That's right. But beans was the first word. See, I think the flatulence is
It could be an issue.
If you do make a noise, you got to finish eating your meal on a bench outside.
This is nuts. I wouldn't. There's no charm in this. There's no incentive to eat at a place like this.
But look at the publicity they got.
Yeah. Well, people, if it weren't in Brooklyn, if it were closer, all of our 12 listeners would go there.
You know who should go there is zombies. They
can't control their.
So
it'd have to be a humanitarian restaurant.
Oh,
because they eat humans.
Oh, I get it. I think. That was as bad as one of my jokes.
This is truly all bets are off. We don't claim to make any sense here.
Actually, kind of getting serious for a minute. Something did come up about Alzheimer's. And this is not a joke. This is actually serious. And it's interesting because it's something that if you suspect you have a family member, there is a test. This sounds like a joke, but it's not. There's a low-tech way of diagnosing Alzheimer's, and it involves, believe it or not, don't laugh, sniffing peanut butter.
Sniffing it?
Sniffing peanut butter. If you suspect that your loved one is early signs of sort of a cognitive decline, they often lose their sense of smell first. And what they did is they took patients, took a dollop, which is just some peanut butter on a spoon, and they put it under each nostril separately, and they measured the point at which people detected the odor, while keeping one nostril closed and smelled with the other. Honest to goodness. Early stage, it confirmed a diagnosis of early stage Alzheimer's if they could smell it with their right nostrils, but not their left.
Obviously related to the brain in some way?
Yeah, so right nostril smells it, but the left doesn't. That might be a sign of early Alzheimer's.
Crunchy or smooth, does it matter?
Depends on how close you get the peanut butter. I knew Barry to the nose. It might block the passage.
That would be frightening if you decided to test yourself and realized that you couldn't smell it with your left nostril. Now, why peanut butter?
Yeah.
they don't say other than, it's how they, strange, it'll probably come out, how they discover.
Well, it easily stuffs into the nostril. It stays.
No, they don't stick it in the nose.
Well, that's what you said.
No, you hold it up to the nose and they smell it.
Cover one side of your nose and
just to hold it under the nostril.
It must have the odor must be some kind of molecule that relates to.
Well, isn't Alzheimer's a memory issue rather than?
It's
well, that's the symptom.
Yeah.
That's
I think it's scarring on the brain or yeah.
Wow, this is interesting.
So if the right nostril can smell it, but the left nostril cannot,
yes,
that is potentially a sign of early Alzheimer's.
And if it's reversed, it doesnn't matter then.
Well, apparently it doesn't, or they would say it didn't matter.
What I don't understand is, you have two nostrils, but don't they both empty into one cavity?
Well, that's a good point. Unless it's like the left brain, left eye, left ear, right ear. Maybe they, with the brain.
You didn't get this out of the onion, okay?
Well, if it's okay to stay a little serious here, and we aren't often very serious here on the Barry, Rich, and Lisa show, but there's good news and bad news about one of the most magnificent animals on the planet here, and those would be elephants. They understand, not surprisingly, human gestures. Now, dogs understand human gestures, and I was actually part of a little study with dolphins, and we were using hand gestures with the dolphins, and they understand gestures. The difference is you don't have to train an elephant to understand the gestures. They understand. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And especially pointing. Now, dogs understand pointing, although my dog gets a little iffy. CJ, over there, huh? But that's why they can use them for lifting logs and stuff that they do in some of the third world countries where they use them as work animals, if you will. But they even point with their trunks themselves. So maybe that's why.
And what type of response, or what type of things are you asking the elephants to respond to, or what do they know? What do they know inherently that they seem to know? Does it say what?
Well, basically, they're mostly talking about pointing.
So if you point up, what would that mean to an elephant? I mean, it wouldn't really
look up. I don't know.
Okay.
See, what happens is these elephants would give rides. They would give rides, and so the handlers were hoping to train them to follow pointing directions, but they were surprised they didn't need to train them.
Gee.
These elephants knew. So
and they did this study at the University of St. Andrews in Scotland. Now, I just am curious as to why they had to take the elephants to Scotland. Also in the news this week was that an elephant keeper was killed by an elephant in a zoo. And again, it's the elephant's intelligence. Now, well, I took a little animal training course, actually 2 of them, years ago, and they warned us when we went in the elephant barn, and it's kind of sad, the elephants were chained by one leg to keep them in the barn, not to trust that the chain was still there, because the elephants are strong enough to break the chain if they really want to. And they had an incident where an elephant had broken the chain, but whenever they came in to feed the elephant just put their foot over the chain where it was broken so that you couldn't see it.
Yeah.
These animals are extremely intelligent.
Wow.
Does this help with Chuck?
He keeps breaking that chain. I'm going to have to put a heavier ball on the end of that chain, since I am the ball and chain for him. And finally, because these elephants are so magnificent and other species are so magnificent and are so endangered, I just want to make a little plea to think about doing something to try and save the elephant, because literally an elephant is killed every 15 minutes for its ivory.
Still, I thought that was...
No, it's horrible. It's horrible. And it is possible that within 12 years there won't be elephants in the wild. That's how dire it is. You can go to the post office and they're selling vanishing species stamps where you pay a couple cents more for the stamps and it goes to that. There's a wonderful organization called the Wildlife Conservation Society. That's WCS.org. I just beg you to give this some thought, maybe give them a little bit of money, and see if we can't save these magnificent animals.
And make sure you don't buy anything with ivory. I mean, that would be a biggie.
We already can't import it. That's been taken care of. But they even want to try and stop just selling within the existing ivory within the United States because it still promotes that it's beautiful, which it is, but they literally hack off the faces of these elephants after they kill them. It's just, anyway, very, very serious. But give it some thought, people. We would really appreciate it, and these animals are so worth saving. So that's my story about elephants, and I'm sticking with it.
Right.
I know. It is really
No,
sad.
it's not that.
No,
Well,
it's
what is
not.
it?
What's wrong, Rich? Tell me what's wrong.
can't tell
It
you.
couldn't be. No, it's not. It is
What?
the Jonas Brothers.
The Jonas Brothers?
The Jonas Brothers. Can you even talk about it, Rich? It'll for therapy. Talk about it, Rich.
Yes, it'll make you feel
Well, you know,
better,
Barry and I are in a band,
Yes.
and I hate it when bands break up.
Yes.
Especially, I think of Barry as my brother. Lisa even sings in the band occasionally.
Sometimes.
But the Jonas Brothers band, they've canceled their tour. Because there's a deep rift within the band.
Not just a rift, a deeper.
I thought a riff was good in a band.
If it's a guitar player, yes.
Oh.
But a disagreement over the direction of their music.
Oh? Well,
That's music?
I guess somebody brought it up.
Well, tell us more. What did they do? What happened?
So
Well,
they
they
just
were Nick
canceled?
and Joe and Kevin were all heard arguing over the weekend.
Am I going to get my money back?
They
you were
probably
going to
wanted-
go?
They won't even do any more Disney movies.
Thank God.
And they've sold 20 million albums.
Do we have to give their albums back too?
We should have known because, you know, Nick and Joe put out solo albums. We should have known then and there.
See, when you go see, hey, Rich, you know, I think Steve's putting out a solo album. It's called Me and My Bass.
Me and My Bass.
And it's all just low notes, and that's a sign that our band might be breaking up. Steve's doing a solo album.
He's doing a solo album.
Cancel
Does he
your
have
tour.
a reality series with his wife?
Does he have what?
Well, that's what Kevin did. He got married.
Oh,
Kevin Jonas.
oh,
And they
that's
have
what.
called Married to Jonas, which is on its second season. See?
People are watching?
This is what...
How did they come up with that title, Married to Jonas?
And I, you know, if I ever got married again, I was going to have the song that they released be the wedding march. Oh, it's a wonderful tune called Pom Poms.
Yay!
Were you
And
cheer-
First Time
No,
was
I
their
wasn't.
follow-up.
Oh no, I was a theater geek.
Oh, that's right.
See, pre-Glee, it wasn't cool.
We'll miss you,
Pre-Glee.
Jonas. We'll miss
pre-Glee.
you, Jonas Brothers.
Well, listen, it's even worse. I have worse news for you.
Oh, no.
Brace
No.
yourself, both of you.
I'm sitting down.
Not only are Bruce and Kris Jenner getting divorced, there was no prenup.
Dun-dun-dun-dun.
Oh,
Yeah, but who had more money? Is she a
I don't know.
Kardashian?
She's a Kardashian, but
No.
they didn't.
Was she married to Robert Kardashian?
I can't keep them.
That was one of
straight.
OJ's lawyers who died.
Oh, that's not the same Kardashian family, is it?
I think so.
Seriously?
Yeah.
No, you're pulling my.
No,
hair.
I'm serious.
Stop pulling my hair.
Well, it's your
Corpus
corpus callosum.
callosum.
How much is at stake?
125 million.
Ouch.
Can't they get along? Can't we all just get
Well,
along?
you know, so you split it, and so you have 60 million left. I mean, so what?
I wonder who did bring how much to the marriage.
Well, I don't know, but I love the line. You know, Bruce has had to live up to so much grief because of plastic surgery gone bad. But they did hear him say something that ended with "Get out of my face." So
and an expletive in somewhere.
Well, then whatever expletive means.
Go expletive.
And speaking of ending, kids, we're almost to the end of the Barry, Rich, and Lisa show, believe it or not, for this episode.
Holy moly, we've
That's
got
right.
so much more. Wait.
The last thing is this 6-year-old wrote to the head of the Navy SEALs and said, "Who's quieter, ninjas or Navy SEALs?"
And he said, well, I think ninjas are probably quieter than SEALs, but we're better swimmers, also better with guns and blowing things up.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm glad.
And on that note, we could end the show. Boom.
Yes, why don't we? Okay, well, listen. Yes,
Yeah.
I think we will end the show because it's that time.
We're out of here.
And thanks again for listening to Barry. We're going to give our little tweet.
At Barry Rich Lisa.
Yeah, please
give us
tweet
a
us.
tweet.
And listen to us on Spreaker.com. That's
Spreaker.
misspelled speaker.
Yeah, throw an R in there.
R between the P and the E.
R,
Spreaker.
And thanks for listening to the Barry, Rich, and Lisa show. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.